Fergie is preparing to go nuclear, to drop the bomb that for a long time she has resisted.
Harry and Meghan are incredibly nervous about the possibility of a tell-all memoir from Sarah Ferguson.
And here is Meghan Markle posting on her Instagram, going to the island. That's Little St. James. And by the way, this plane, PJWIT, was flying to Little St. James, especially on that date that she posted this story.
Sarah Ferguson has reportedly been shut out by major publishers in America, and that is a big red flag. The Sunday Express reported that she pitched a tell-all memoir to U.S. publishing houses, asked for around $2 million, and got hit with rejections, or in some cases, nothing at all. One Hollywood source allegedly said, "Nobody wants to look like they are helping her profit from a scandal that has ripped through her family." Think about that for a second. A woman believed to know a huge amount about royal life, family tension, and private drama could not even get real traction in the room. And that is where this gets risky, not just for Fergie, but for Meghan Markle too.
That memoir, or a memoir of that scale, would of course revisit some of the most controversial moments in royal history, including the fallout from Megxit.
Because a rejection does not always make a story disappear. Sometimes it makes it more unpredictable. If someone feels cornered, ignored, or financially pressured, that can change the game fast. Now you are looking at a woman with serious royal history, alleged private knowledge, and fewer reasons to stay quiet than before. According to Radar Online, Ferguson was approached about a possible tell-all, with one insider claiming she could still land a deal for financial security. That is reportedly what has the Sussex camp uneasy.
She knows the way for the big payday is a Prince Harry-style autobiography. A $20 million advance, like Harry received, is what she wants.
After all, Harry and Meghan already made huge money from Spare, and reports now suggest they are nervous about how their own actions or private exchanges could be described by someone who was actually around when key events unfolded. Tom Sykes at the Daily Beast said courtiers fear what he described as a pulling a Harry scenario, meaning a major deal built around a version of events the palace cannot control. And here is the part people are missing. Just because US publishers may have passed does not mean the story is dead. The UK could still bite, Australia could still bite, and a streaming platform or major TV interview could still blow this wide open. And okay, Magazine Insider claims Ferguson has been studying the Harry and Meghan playbook very closely, and not casually either, with real intent. The strategy is clear.
That Meghan utilized Beatrice and Eugenie to get closer to Prince Harry, and I think that that's an element of the story that Harry and Meghan leave out.
Start with a televised interview, move into streaming content, and then drop a book to lock in both money and control of the narrative. According to the source, she sees this as a proven formula for both payback and financial security, and now she is reportedly ready to follow that same three-step plan and go completely off script with the royals. And if that actually happens, it could hit the institution hard, not just headlines, but real pressure behind the scenes. Now, here is where it gets more serious, especially for Meghan, because there is one connection that does not get talked about enough, and it matters more than people think.
The press is completely ignoring this. The press does not want to touch the fact that Meghan was called as a witness by Virginia Roberts, who said that she was a close associate of Prince Andrew. And of course, it's not in anybody's best interest to have Meghan Markle testify, because they know that she knows a lot. And this is why this woman is flaunting her impunity around or feels untouchable.
Meghan Markle and Princess Eugenie were not just casual acquaintances. They were reportedly close, like genuinely close. According to Finding Freedom by Omid Scobie, Eugenie saw Meghan as a positive influence for Harry, even describing her as just the tonic he needed. They spent time together, double dates, private trips, even holidays with high-profile circles like Lake Como, and then look at what happened next.
I'm not sure how far Fergie would go. Perhaps Meghan and Andrew have crossed paths. I mean, it's something that I'm not sure will even come to light. I mean, it's highly suspicious given the circles that Andrew and Meghan have obviously floated in. You know, we have photographic evidence of Meghan hanging around with friends of, who Andrew did, the Epstein circle.
When Harry and Meghan stepped away in 2020, Eugenie and her husband Jack Brooksbank moved into Frogmore Cottage, the same home tied directly to the Sussexes and funded through public money. They were living inside that space during one of the most chaotic periods the royal family has faced in years. And that kind of proximity matters more than people realize. And here's the part people keep overlooking, and it should seriously concern Montecito. Princess Eugenie is Sarah Ferguson's daughter, and that connection is not random, it is direct. Because Meghan and Eugenie were not just friendly, this was built on trust during a messy, high-pressure moment. When Meghan first entered royal life, reports describe her as overwhelmed, confused, and already clashing with staff early on. And during that time, Eugenie was reportedly one of the few people she leaned on.
And the people who are most terrified about this are Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, because it is Fergie, of course, who could reveal all about what really went on with this couple and the British royal family and Andrew behind the scenes.
Multiple outlets have suggested Meghan opened up to her about private tensions, her experience inside the palace, issues involving staff, and even sensitive conversations tied to her relationship dynamics within the family. Think about that. These were not public statements. These were things said in private, in confidence, between people who saw each other as allies. And here is where it shifts, because what gets shared between close friends does not always stay contained. Conversations move, especially within families. So when you connect the dots, Meghan to Eugenie to Sarah Ferguson, that is not speculation. That is a potential information chain. That is exactly why this situation hits differently, because Ferguson would not need anonymous insiders or secondhand leaks.
Eugenie not only went to the Super Bowl with him, we've seen her in Montecito with her husband having dinner with Harry and Meghan. Eugenie lived in Frogmore Cottage amongst their things, amongst Meghan's journal.
If anything sensitive ever traveled through that circle, it would already come from a place of trust, and that is what makes it powerful. Now look at Ferguson's current position, because this is where things get unpredictable fast. According to reporting highlighted by Tom Sykes at the Daily Beast, she has been described as pushed out with no official role and limited institutional backing. Several of her charity ties reportedly collapsed in a short span, and her public standing has taken repeated hits. Add to that financial pressure, business setbacks, and reports of time spent at a high-end recovery clinic in Switzerland where costs can reach extreme levels per night, and you start to see a pattern forming.
Gone from a £13,000 a night Zurich wellness retreat to a spa hotel, a VIP spa hotel in Ireland. She's been to the Middle East begging for money. She's got no economic options left. No one's giving her money anymore.
When someone is dealing with that kind of pressure, decisions can change quickly. And here is the uncomfortable reality. The kind of things people say when they feel hurt, frustrated, or pushed aside, those are exactly the details that turn into headlines and sell stories. If even part of that private history exists, it does not need exaggeration, it just needs a platform. Reports paint a messy picture right now. Ferguson is allegedly moving between borrowed villas, private, golf retreats, and luxury hideaways, while some sources claim she is struggling financially and relying on others to stay afloat. And here is the key point. This is not someone who has stayed quiet in the past.
As far as we know, this is a real email. This is in the Epstein file, yet nobody's touching it. It is very telling, again, how the mainstream media is refusing to agree.
Back in 1996, right after her split from Prince Andrew, she released My Story. And one detail about borrowing Princess Diana's shoes and mentioning a health issue reportedly caused serious fallout. That moment damaged their relationship permanently, and they never repaired it. That tells you everything you need to know. She has crossed lines before, faced backlash, and still went through with it. Now fast forward, and the pattern feels familiar again. Tom Sykes has pointed out that she has already shown a willingness to publish material that puts the royal household in an uncomfortable position, even when the consequences are heavy.
She needs the cash. She thinks it's already too late for her daughters because William is slowly marginalizing them.
At the same time, reports suggest Princess Eugenie is preparing space for her mother at a luxury villa in Portugal, a multi-million property that signals a shift in living arrangements. Meanwhile, Prince Andrew is said to be largely out of public view, spending time at Royal Lodge and expressing frustration over losing titles. That is the current snapshot of the York family, unstable, under pressure, and far from the structured image they once had. And here is where it sharpens. A source quoted in OK magazine claimed that any honest memoir from Ferguson would naturally include deeply buried family stories, the kind people do not talk about openly.
No, so there is a good chance that Meghan does know something about Andrew, because she never said anything, Harry never said anything with all of their attacks, and it makes you think, why? Why did they protect Andrew? And it might be because Andrew could have fired back and said that he does in fact know Meghan. You know, it could be a real tit-for-tat moment.
Another insider added that the motivation is not just about reputation, it is also financial, which changes how far someone might be willing to go. She is now in a completely different stage of life, having faced serious health battles, becoming a grandmother, and watching her position inside the institution collapse quickly. That combination can shift priorities fast, and look at how the royal side is reacting. According to In Touch Weekly, there are discussions about potential legal action to prevent damage from a possible tell-all.
David Boyes, who was Virginia Giuffre's attorney, wanted Meghan Markle to give evidence in the civil trial, saying that there were things about Andrew that she knew.
Think about that. Considering legal steps before a book even exists shows this is being taken seriously behind the scenes. The pressure is not subtle anymore. It is escalating. Reports claim Prince William has already started creating distance, with Beatrice and Eugenie allegedly being pushed out of key royal moments, from events like Royal Ascot to public appearances and even photo opportunities. And when you see moves like that, it is not random, it is strategic. Biographer Andrew Lowney even told the Daily Express that the princesses should consider dropping their titles entirely.
I believe that Andrew and Meghan have crossed paths. Meghan was friends and going on holidays with Epstein's girlfriend. There's no way that you can't tell me Meghan wouldn't have got an invite through some of her friends to attend the big lavish parties that Epstein was known for throwing, with lots of girls, some professionals, some not, some models, some D-list cable TV actresses desperate for fame.
He argued that without those titles, their public relevance drops fast, which is a brutal way of saying their position depends heavily on royal status. Now here is where this connects directly to Meghan, and this is the part people underestimate. If Beatrice and Eugenie lose their titles, or even just their standing, what exactly is left? To protect? Think it through? Why would Eugenie feel pressure to stay quiet? Why would Ferguson hold anything back? The main leverage the palace has is influence and status, but that only works if someone still benefits from it. If that disappears, the dynamic changes completely.
We all know that they behaved badly. We all know that they treated staff badly. We all know that Meghan definitely bullied everybody and anybody that she could, whether it be the Queen's chefs, the gardeners, Catherine and William's nanny, the Queen's dresser. I mean, Meghan really was a force when she joined that family of just being terrible to everyone.
And look at Ferguson's situation. She has already lost major institutional support, public roles, and key connections. If her circle also starts losing status, that removes even more incentive to stay aligned. And here is the uncomfortable truth. People who feel like they have nothing left to lose often act differently. They take risks others would avoid, and that is when situations become unpredictable. That is exactly why, in this scenario, Ferguson could be a bigger concern than any tabloid headline or outside commentator. Because this is not secondhand information, this is someone connected through personal trust networks. So what could actually come out? Let's get concrete, because this is where it shifts from theory to impact.
Fergie has secrets, and her financial desperation takes her to dark places, cash for access. So I do believe that the Sussexes could and should be worried about this new development.
There are several specific areas where a potential memoir could challenge the Sussex narrative in a serious way. And one of the most talked about starts with the Kate situation, the bridesmaid dress moment that Meghan discussed publicly. Multiple royal biographers, including Valentine Lowe, have reported a completely different version of the story. Their accounts suggest it was Meghan who left Kate upset, not the other way around. The palace even conducted an internal review, but the findings were never released publicly, which only made the situation more confusing. Now here is where it gets serious. Princess Eugenie was right there during that period, close to the wedding circle, close to the key players, and reportedly close to Meghan herself.
You know, what they're ultimately scared of with the Fergie book is alternative versions of events coming out. Since Harry and Meghan have moved here, they've monetized their version of events, not necessarily the truth, but their truth through Spotify, Netflix, and Harry's book deal.
If Meghan ever shared her private version of what actually happened during that fitting room moment, and if Eugenie passed that perspective along within her own family, that creates a version of events that has never been fully tested in public. And that matters because if a first-hand account from someone inside that trusted circle contradicts what was later said publicly, it raises questions people cannot ignore.
When you have been lied about for a series of years, how hurtful that is. So imagine that for over a period of months and years, and you know that it is.
Second issue, the staff complaints. In 2018, there were formal concerns raised by palace staff about workplace behavior, reportedly escalated by Jason Knopf, who worked closely with the Sussex team. An internal process followed, but again, no detailed results were released to the public. The Sussex side has consistently denied those claims. But think about Eugenie's position again. She was close enough to hear multiple perspectives, both from Meghan and from people within the institution. That kind of proximity means she would have had access to conversations most outsiders never hear. And here is why that matters now. Any version of events that may have been shared privately within that circle could carry weight if it ever surfaced, especially if it differs from the public narrative. Third, the exit timeline.
Jeffrey looks very forward to hosting dinner on November 30th at 8 p.m. at Martin Novak's Institute located at 1 Brattle Square, Suite 6. Please have the guests call or Corinna on their cell as the guest approaches the Institute so they can come down and let them in. Thank you, Leslie. Assistant.
Harry and Meghan presented their departure as a last resort under pressure, but several insiders have suggested the planning may have started earlier than was publicly acknowledged. If that is true, it shifts how people interpret everything that followed. Even Finding Freedom, the book seen as friendly to the Sussex side, admitted there were early conversations about stepping away. That alone matters, because if Meghan was already talking to Eugenie in 2019 about leaving before anything went public, then this was not just a reaction, it starts to look planned. And if that version ever gets backed up from inside that circle, it changes how people read the entire story. Now, add another layer, the Soho House connections. Meghan and Eugenie were both moving in those same private member circles before Harry was even in the picture. Marcus Anderson, a key Soho House figure, reportedly played a role in connecting Meghan and Harry in the first place.
Here's what I would say about that. I think it's very important to shift this idea that play the opposite and make sure you can be taken seriously. My point in all of this is that no matter what you look like, you should be taken.
These are tight networks, private spaces, and influential connections that go back years. And let's be precise here, nobody is claiming wrongdoing. But questions about who knew who, when relationships started, and what conversations happened behind closed doors, those are exactly the kinds of details that attract attention. And a memoir built on personal access could bring those moments into focus in a way outsiders never could. So now you are looking at 4 clear pressure points: the Kate incident, the staff complaints, the exit timeline, and the wider social network connections.
Once a Soho House basic bitch, always a Soho House basic bitch.
Jeffrey Epstein was also Harvey Weinstein, very prominent. There were members. Meghan Markle was just one of the working girls for Soho House. Call girl, working girl, escort, whatever you want to call it. That's what she was.
That is not vague gossip. That is a structured challenge to a public narrative. And here is why it hits harder. This would not come from tabloids or secondhand reporting. It would come from someone tied into a direct personal chain of communication. That is why reports suggest the Sussex side is uneasy, not because of random rumors, but because of the possibility of a competing version of events from someone positioned close to those conversations. And here is the final twist. U.S. publishers may have passed on Ferguson's initial pitch at around $2 million, while Harry's spare reportedly brought in around $20 million in advances. That gap tells you something important. It is not necessarily about the story being rejected, it can also be about pricing and timing. And if someone under pressure recalibrates expectations and comes back with a lower number, that is when doors that were closed before can suddenly open. And if a chapter ever dives into what really happened with the bridesmaid dresses, or what Meghan said privately about Kate, or when the exit plan actually began, the answers could land very differently. That is the part that changes everything, because look at the position Sarah Ferguson is in right now, reportedly cut off, rejected by major US publishers, and watching her daughter's royal standing shift in real time. This is not someone operating from comfort anymore. And when pressure builds like that, people start making very different moves. And here is why this hits harder than people expect. It is not about power, it is about proximity. The person closest to Ferguson is her daughter, who was inside Meghan's circle, living in her home and hearing her version of events before the public ever did. That kind of access is rare, and it matters. So if this situation keeps developing, and signs suggest it might, this is not just another headline cycle. This becomes a question of timing, platform, and how much detail actually surfaces. Because at this point, it is no longer just about whether Ferguson speaks. It is about who gets that first conversation and how much of Meghan's name ends up in it. Stay locked in, because if this moves, it is going to move fast.